I'm getting ready to draw out the triggers that I'm going to use, and you will start out with a piece of plywood about 1/4 round, and I'm going to show you a little trick to get these approximately the right size. As you can see, I've got the rim of the drum, and simply take two magic markers. You can see I taped them together, and you just simply set them right in there and go all the way around, and that will give you approximately the amount that you need to fix those down inside of the drum shells. So that's to me, that was a good little tip that I came about, and I hope it works for you. Now we have our L brackets attached, and the next step we will marker plywood to drill the holes in to put our bolts in, because this will be adjustable, and I just simply set it down in there and kind of center it up the best you can around the corners to where it will have room to move up and down, as we will adjust it to the head later. Let me note, when drilling these holes and marking them, always make here you can see that I have put a mark here on the plywood and on the bracket. That lets me know where to go and to mount this, because these things don't line up. Now I'm getting to that because I forgot to do it, and I had to work and work to get these things in a line. So just keep that in note, that when you drill your holes, before you remove the plywood from the brackets, just make your little markings to let you know to where to go back to once you get the nuts and bolts in. Now I'm going to put this thing together, hopefully. Today we will be doing our triggers and the rim shot. First of all, we will do our triggers. You will need a 1/4 piece of plywood, some nuts, bolts, and washers. Then you will need number 8 or number 10's nuts, bolts, and washers. To each bolt, you will need 4 washers and 3 nuts. These drums that I have is both, so I will need, on the 8 lug, I will need 4 bolts per snare, tom, or whatever it might be you're working on. And from there you will need a flat piece of sheet metal. In my case, I'm using actually a pizza pan. But you know, you can go to your local hardware and they will have these things, flat sheet metal. You don't want it real thick and you don't want it extremely thin. You will need a piezo transducer. That is the heartbeat of the drums. And you will simply place this in the center of your sheet metal, and I would recommend that you would sand this and make it clean, and I'm just going to use a piece of 120 sandpaper and just kind of sand it, clean it up. And you will need some crazy glue. You can use hot glue. To me, it's not as sensitive, so I chose the crazy glue, or some type of glue such as that. So we will take our crazy glue or our super glue, and we will glue that to our metal sheeting. Now that we have our 1/4 inch plywood mounted inside of our drum shell, now it is time for the bottom part of the foam, which this is a 1 inch high density foam that you will be using on the bottom. And then you will need your sheet metal, which I'm using a pizza pan. But you can pick up sheet metal in your hardware stores like Lowe's, Home Depots, or your welding supply place. You don't want the metal real thin, you don't want it real thick. You just kind of want it, the thicker it is, the less that the piezo transducer is going to pick up. And of course you will want one of those as well, or ever how many you're putting in. If you're doing a whole drum set conversion like this, you will need one for each tom or snare. And you will be needing a top layer on the metal, sheet metal itself. I'm using carpet foam. When mounting this down or getting it to stay in position, you will want, to me, hot glue works the best. But just kind of shoot your little underneath it, just a little dot you make, and go to 2 to 3 inches around it until you get all the way around, and kind of give it a little drying time. Just put a little pressure on it each time that you glue it, and you will be good. Do that on each one. You will put some on the top, and then put your sheet metal on top of this, and then when you put your sheet metal on top, when you put your yoga mat on top of that, or whatever you're using, I'm using carpet foam, you will want to do the same on it as well. That way it holds everything in place when you are playing your drums. Everything won't fall down in the corner. As you can see on this one, there's a little gap in there, and if you don't secure this some way, it's all going to fall down, and when your metal gets down in again the drum shell, it is not going to work right. It's going to misfire. It's not going to have that sound that you are looking for. So just keep that in mind, and I will finish putting these together. Now that we have our foam and our metal plate and our piezo installed, it's now time that we install our drum head. And on adjusting these, I basically just snug it down like you would acoustic drum head. Just crisscross one another until you get all the way around it. And that's kind of the way that I adjust it, just like you would your acoustic drums. Some say that it don't matter, but to me, I've learned if you got it real tight, it kind of chokes it, and it don't have the flex that it needs. And if you leave it too loose, it has too much, and when you hit it, for some reason to me, it misfires. When adjusting the drum head, the basic adjustment and the research that I did is 1/8 above the drum shell. But I've adjust mine this way. I simply just take my hand and put in the center and put just a little pressure, just something like that, and I will take my hands, I will take, while holding down the pressure, at the same pressure, run the nuts up and under here, snug them up against the metal L brackets until I work my way all the way around, and then I will snug these bolts up and make sure everything is tight and secure. And two, you want to make sure that you've got your drum, the wiring, to where it's not in a bind. You want just a little play here, but you don't want it just flopping around all over you inside of your drum shell. It will come loose, because while they are on these piezo transducers, they're very sensitive. And as I said earlier, I will leave you a diagram of the wiring on these. This is just simply a 3-way jack, 1/4, a headphone jack basically, and that's basically what we have there. Now I have been working on my rim trigger for my drums. Now I placed it on the inside of the drums, and to me it didn't work quite as the way I wanted it. So I honestly, folks, just got tired of fooling with it and said, well, I just stick the piezo transducer on the rim. And if you're looking for a quick, easy way of fixing your rim, if it's not working inside of the drum quite like you would like for it to, it did, but it just didn't have the crackle or the click like I wanted. And basically what I've done now is took the piezo transducer and I just took just a dab of hot glue, I cleaned the rim really good and the piezo, and just stuck a little hot glue to it and stuck it to it. And as you can see, if you can see, I have run my wires down through behind the old snare trigger, or the snare lever that puts your snare on and off, and a bottle cap. And that's basically makes up and put a little two-faced tape in there, build it up, and that's basically the rim shot. And wired it at the bottom. I just run it back and under. I don't know if this will work out, but as you can see, I have run it and under, and to make up that I can wire it up, and it's kind of hid. And to me, honestly, it doesn't look that bad out there. Sounds real good. So it works for me. And you know, if you're doing a drum roll, and that ain't much of one, but just to show you that, you know, it works really well.